you have more than likely heard the news that the Supreme Court has, as anticipated, struck down Roe v. Wade and Casey. These were the decisions that gave, found in the Constitution, a right for women to, for that matter, people who are looking for an abortion to get one in this country, and to have that right in a way that was unencumbered. Under Roe v. Wade, that decision was essentially the way this went into practice. There were 3 trimesters, and there were different levels of burdens that the state could apply to that right depending on the trimester. A state could not ban abortion prior to trimester 1. They had more flexibility to restrict it in certain ways in trimester 2, and in trimester 3 could restrict it unless it involved rape, incest, or the life of the mother. And Casey changed the structure of that, allowed for essentially more restrictions placed on abortion beyond the time where it was largely accepted that a fetus could be viable outside the womb. That was 24 weeks. They were looking at a case, Dobbs, that dealt with, I think it was a 15-week abortion ban. It really was largely irrelevant. They superseded Casey. In other words, it wasn't just a matter of, well, we've changed our mind. It's not 24 weeks, it's 15 weeks now. No, they went even further and said that there is no right in this country, despite the fact that we have had that right for 49 years in this country, to an abortion. That there is no right to choose one. Therefore, a state can regulate it in any way they find fit. And in 13 states, as of this morning, abortions are banned. In 13 more states, and they had trigger laws waiting for a decision like this one. That's those states: Arkansas, Idaho, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, and Wyoming. They have different trigger laws, as it were. Kentucky, anyone who provides or attempts to provide an abortion will be charged with a 4 Class D felony. Each one has, some nuance to it. There may be some exceptions in some of these states, but let's be clear about the exceptions too. And like I say, there's going to be 13 more states where these abortion bans will go into effect. Let's be clear on arguing whether a woman's life is in jeopardy, or there's incest, or there's rape. Maybe there's certain exceptions, et cetera, et cetera. Do not fool yourself. A doctor does not, when a woman's life is in danger by carrying a pregnancy to term, there's no light bulb that lights up. You can't look and say, oh, we can tell because their nose is turning red. Or here's a test. We have the results of the test. Positive, negative. Is the life in danger? Yes or no? No, it doesn't work that way. These are assessments that are made by doctors. And they are subjective assessments, like every assessment a doctor makes. And in that moment, when the doctor must make that assessment, that doctor is going to weigh 2 things. 1, their subjective assessment, and 2, prison time, fines, years of legal proceedings, loss of license. Every time they're faced with that decision. When a woman comes in because she's had a miscarriage and the embryo or the fetus has not flushed from their system, and there's potential that this woman could die of an infection if it is not out of their body. And the doctor weighs my subjective assessment of this, my completely objective assessment as to what I could be charged with. Will they find me guilty? I don't know. It's a function of my lawyer. Will I be ostracized? Will I lose my license? Will I lose my ability to practice at this hospital? These exceptions are not exceptions. Because the ban in and of itself serves to completely inhibit the ability, the will of abortion providers, and not just abortion, women's health providers, from doing their jobs because they don't want to go to jail. And you know, in all of these states, there are aggressive prosecutors who are like, this is the way that I'm going to make my name. So make no mistake about it. We have 26 states in this country, I would say by the end of this year, probably sooner, probably by the end of summer, where you will not be able to get an abortion. And if they do not have a medical abortion, importing of medical abortion medications, they will have one of those laws as well. And that's where we're at today. If Donald Trump becomes president in 2024, or I should say 2025, or Ron DeSantis for that matter, and there's a Republican Senate and House, I would be willing to bet you anything by 2026, we have a federal ban on abortion. That's where we are today. And there are still 8 more decisions extant by the Supreme Court. And we're going to have, I mean, this is just going to keep coming. Got the West Virginia EPA. We've got the praying coach, although we saw basically we know what that's going to end up being. We saw the ruling the other day on the separation of church and state in the context of public and parochial schools. I mean, this is how Junes are going to go for the next 5 or 10, 15 years, 20 years. We're just going to see more and more individual rights get rolled back. We're going to see more and more ability for the government to function rolled back. We're going to see the separation between church and state rolled back. I mean, it just goes on and on.